Hi guys, I'm Adam Wilborn from WhatCulture, now joined by the legend that is D'Lo Brown. D'Lo, how is WrestleMania weekend treating you?
WrestleMania weekend is a spectacle. It's amazing. It's the biggest and greatest thing you can ever imagine. So it's always fun to be around.
For me, I find it sort of like Disneyland for wrestling fans.
It is definitely like Disneyland on steroids. That's the only way to put it. Like WrestleMania is its own thing that just keeps growing and growing and growing every year. I mean, it was nothing like this 10 years ago, but I can only imagine what 10 years from now is going to be like.
You were a real hero of mine growing up watching the Attitude Era of WWF.
That's because I represented all of Europe. That's why. Yeah. But I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Former European champion, former Intercontinental champion, of course. Well, one of the very few people who held both.
Both, yes. I was the first guy to do it, so...
I saw you correcting Kurt the other day.
I had to correct Kurt because he keeps trying to erase history here. I love Kurt, but you know, Kurt, you know.
As someone who's held these sorts of championships, got the Godfather trying to sneak in with you. We'll grab you in a second, Charles. As someone who's held those sort of mid-tier titles, what do you think about how WWE handles them nowadays? Because sometimes they're accused of sort of flip-flopping those belts.
I think that the championships are only as relevant as we make them. So if you trade them around like they're nothing, then people perceive them as nothing. For example, when X-Pac and I were going after the European title, we treated it like a world title. Yeah. So whenever it changed hands, it was a big deal. So, I mean, I like stability in titles. I like guys establishing they're the champion and then having people chase them, and that's the important thing.
Now, am I right in thinking there's a Nation of Domination reunion taking place tonight?
Yeah, we were going to, but certain circumstances beyond our control made that photo op not accessible today.
Okay, but it must be nice to come to these places, like you say, and just see old friends. I saw you meeting up with people that you used to work with.
Yes. See, this is like, for me, the wrestling part is great, but it's more about seeing the guys that I spent weeks and months and years on the road with, and now you get to see them again. Maybe you've not seen them for a couple years. So it's like, to me, it's like a giant meet and greet with all my old boys. That's the fun part for me.
I idolized you in the 90s when I was growing up. Who were some of your wrestling idols?
Well, the ironic thing was, like, I grew up watching Ron Simmons. Like, he was I loved him. And then years later, I'm partnered with him, so that made life so much, amazing. But then guys like Arn Anderson and, Tully Blanchard, those are the kind of guys that I like growing up.
Now, obviously, people will remember you from the WWE or WWF, of course, and you spent time in TNA as well. And I know you developed a partnership whilst you were there with AJ Styles. Yes. You were a fan of his, I understand. Did you ever think, without being too patronizing, that he would make it to the level that he has in WWE?
I knew he had the potential. You can never, ever say that guy's going to make it. But I knew if he was given the opportunity, he would have the ability to get over on the biggest stage of them all. So, yeah.
Do you think that's arguably something that's changed over the last sort of 5-10 years? People who aren't, let's just say, WWE guys, that glass ceiling has been broken, and AJ Styles is a prime example of that.
I think the whole WWE guys thing is gone. I just think Vince, for example, wants the best wrestlers on the planet to put on the best show. And if they don't happen to be in his ranks as it is, he's going to go find them. So guys like AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, and Bobby Roode, he saw their ability and was like, okay, we can use this because we can all benefit from it. So I think that old mantra of, well, you're not a WWE guy, we're going to leave you alone, I think that's gone.
Is NXT a part of that as well? Because we've been talking to some of the guys who came through NXT when it was first starting off, and now obviously it's gone from being just a developmental territory to a place where, tonight, a sold-out show, takeover with some of the biggest stars on the planet.
Yeah, NXT has gone from being a developmental territory to a bona fide standalone independent company. Like you said, they're running a show independent of anybody else, and they're sold out. And that's an amazing thing that, for lack of a better term, they're a developmental school. And so it shows the power and of the business right now and how much love people have for wrestling.
You talk about developmental, NXT. Mm-hmm. You yourself, I've seen on Twitter, helping or giving advice to potential future wrestlers. Mm-hmm. What's the one piece of advice you'd give to fans of wrestling who want to maybe get into the industry?
Look, if you want to do this, you got to give 100%. You can't BS and half-step. You got to put all into it. Never let anybody tell you no, and just be yourself and explore. And those are the things that I like to teach my students. Go out there and be you.
there's so much that I want to talk to you about from watching you in the 90s. But for you personally, what was some of your career highlights, whether that be matches or guys you worked with?
Anytime I was in the ring with X-Pac.
He's really one of those people who, arguably to the fans, is overlooked sometimes, but I think more and more nowadays, especially with Degeneration Act going into the Hall of Fame, he's being recognised for the contribution that he gave in the 90s.
I think as wrestling fans become more educated to what good wrestling is, they look back to a guy and go, X-Pac was a lot better than I thought, because he did such a great job of making you mad at him that you look past his wrestling, and you're like, I just hate him. Now that you look at him from a different perspective, you see how great of a wrestler and a worker he was, and you go, I have a new appreciation for him. And I know anytime he and I got in the ring together, our bad matches were better than some people's good matches. So I enjoyed that, and I enjoyed being with him.
The 90s was such a huge time for wrestling. Do you think we're seeing a sort of a new golden age of wrestling? 2019 is arguably one of the most exciting times to be a wrestling fan.
I think wrestling is going through a sort of a renaissance, with AEW opening up, with Impact coming back to life, and with WWE being the monster that it's always going to be. And then you look at NXT UK, and then you look at the 200 independent shows that are wrestling right within 30 miles of here. Yes, I think wrestling is starting to come back. I'm never saying never, but to be the heights it was in 97, 98, 99, that's a hard bar to reach again.
It's a different time.
But it's peaking and it's trending in the right direction.
And you think something like AEW, which obviously everyone is talking about at the moment, is only going to be beneficial not just for the industry but also for WWE in pushing Vince McMahon?
I think it's going to be beneficial because wrestling fans want options. And when you have options, you have a choice. When you have a choice, it creates competition. So now it makes everybody step their game up. So AEW is going to have to try to put out their best. Vince is going to try to put out their best. Every independent is going to try to put their best. And the only person is going to benefit are the fans. So it's going to be good for all of us.
Penultimate question. I wouldn't forgive myself if I spoke to you and didn't ask you this. Is there a secret to the D'Lo neck wiggle, or is it just born with it?
God-given ability.
Final question, D'Lo. It's been a pleasure chatting to you. We've been asking everyone this who's at WrestleCon today. With the Hulk Hogan film coming out, I want to know, if someone was playing D'Lo Brown in a film, who would play you?
Wow, that's a good question. My goodness. Hold on. Hey, Mark, if somebody was doing a Nation, for example, a Nation documentary, who would play me?
Stumped him. Be nice, Mark.
Yeah, because it's hard for me to answer that question, but I know he'll answer it in a way. Who's that brother from Hustle and Flow? Cuba Gooding Jr. can play. Yeah. There you go.
Cuba Gooding Jr. is a hell of a shout.
There you go. Boom.
D'Lo Brown, it's been an absolute pleasure to chat to you. Have a great WrestleMania weekend.
Cheers, mate. Thank you very much.
Hi guys, I'm Adam Wilborn from WhatCulture, and if you're a fan of what you've just seen, then make sure you subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts for daily wrestling podcasts, where we not only review Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live, we also discuss the events before and after of pay-per-views. We have roundtable discussions discussing burning wrestling issues, interviews, and a roundup of the week, complete with a bloody good quiz, of course, on WrestleCulture. Thanks for watching. I've been Adam from WhatCulture, and I'll see you soon.
Hello WhatCulture, my name is Simon Miller, and today I have an announcement so big, so huge, it's gonna shatter the very foundations of your life to the point you may need to phone up a friend and say, I don't even know who I am anymore. I have just heard the news. Have you heard the news? I've heard you out there. I've seen you've been commenting. I've read your tweets, and I can now officially let you know that if you do enjoy Raw ups and downs, if you do enjoy SmackDown ups and downs, that now you'll be able to set your watches to them. You'll be able to make notes in your calendars, because we're gonna have an official time for when they're gonna go live. I know, massive. So ups and downs for Raw will go live at 2 p.m. GMT, that's British time every Tuesday, and they will go live at 2 p.m. GMT every Wednesday. for SmackDown. So you don't have to be aimlessly walking around anymore going, what do? I want to know what got up and what got down and what Seth Rollins did or what AJ Styles is up to. Now you know. 2 p.m. GMT Tuesdays, 2 p.m. GMT Wednesdays, ups and downs coming at you in the face. I realise what I just said, retract that, keep moving on, and I hope to see you there soon. And I hope that we build an audience so big that if I ever wanted to march an army anywhere in the world, I could, and we'd call it the Ups and Downs Army, because I haven't come up with a better name.